Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another movie review, and this is one that I've been trying to think of the right time to watch for a while, and I guess since I've already reviewed quite a few movies on human trafficking at this point, or at least a couple, I thought I'd get to this one, but tonight today I watched The Whistleblower. This is a 2010 film directed by Larissa Kondraki, and it stars Rachel Weisz, David Strathairn, uh, Nikolai Lee Kass, Vanessa Redgrave, and Monica Bellucci. Now, in this film, Nebraska cop Catherine Bolkovac discovers a deadly sex trafficking ring while serving as a UN peacekeeper in post-war Bosnia. Risking her own life to save the lives of others, she uncovers an international conspiracy that is determined to stop her, no matter the cost. So, what did I think of The Whistleblower? Well, I have some complicated thoughts because also I have this at the wrong color. Yeah, because I thought the film was decent. That's the thing. I thought it was decent. I feel like the first half could have been cut down a bit, maybe to help the story flow a bit better. I don't think the story needed to be almost 2 hours. I think that there are multiple things in the movie that I'm like, if these were fleshed out better, because you have all this time. 2 hours is already quite a bit for a movie, because most movies are an hour and a half. A lot of fantastic movies are less than an hour and a half. But with this film, it does feel like them trying to do the whole true events thing, trying to do it exactly like it happened, does kind of make the film suffer. But let me get to the actors. Rachel Weisz is Catherine Bolkovac. She doesn't give a bad performance. It's an uneven performance, is what I'd say. Because there are moments like the moment where she's trying to get the girl to come with her, where I think she's really good. I'm not gonna over elaborate because this is a film that I do think people should go into not knowing anything about the true events. Um, but there are also moments where she's very muted, very stoic, I guess, and I don't know if it's just because it's the only film, to my knowledge, that this director has done, but I feel like Rachel Weisz didn't get the direction that she needed, and she was mostly kind of working on her own. I could still follow her as a main character, but I do wish that it was better directed for her. David Strathairn is Peter Ward. He's a character that comes in halfway through the film. He's internal affairs agent, starts to help Catherine. He's good. I always like David Strathairn. There's a film that I wanted to see with him in it called An Interview with God. I've always been curious about that. I thought it sounded interesting. But yeah, he does a good job. Nikolai Le Kaz, he's kind of a love interest in the film. I've never seen this actor before. Apparently, he was in Riders of Justice, a Mads Mikkelsen movie I've heard great things about, and Child 44, which I even though I heard mixed things about that, I still want to see it. Um, but he was okay. His accent does kind of make his acting feel a bit not as good for me. And apparently, a lot of people have been pointing out in reviews that he's doing the wrong accent for what his character's supposed to be, so I don't know. It was kind of just boring, but I'll get to his character in a bit. Monica Bellucci as Laura Leviani, she's working in the UN, in the human trafficking department. She's there. I like Monica Bellucci when she's given something to do, but here she kind of feels like a throwaway character just there to spout like nonsense that she doesn't believe in. Like the character doesn't believe in, not the actress. But she's fine. She's still good to look at. I'll say that. And Vanessa Redgrave as Madeline Reese. She's someone else who's like helping um Catherine. She does a good job. I've always liked Vanessa Redgrave. Um, it was nice to see her here. But here's the thing. This film is about specific real world events. It is not something like Skin Trade or Taken or Traffic, which I haven't seen yet, but I know it's about human trafficking. Don't have to go far with that title to understand that it's about human trafficking. But it's not like those films which where they use the subject of human trafficking as a springboard for the film's premise. In Taken, it's a springboard for excuse me, it's a jumping point for Liam Neeson to beat up a bunch of dudes and kill human traffickers. In Skin Trade, it's a springboard for Dolph Lundgren's character to search for his daughter and, and like avenge the murder of his wife. This is a bit similar to Sound of Freedom, or I'm trying to think of other human trafficking movies, but you know what I mean. This is trying to be a biopic, kind of. But, like, okay, from what I have heard, I have not done really much of my own research because I don't really care. Not that I don't care about human trafficking, it's just that I watch films not to be like, oh, now I know more about the subject. There are times for that, like I'll watch documentaries at times, but for this I was just like, okay, I wonder how they're gonna play this. Are they gonna do it straight? Are they gonna show as much as they possibly can? Excuse me. To like hammer home the whole thing about like, yeah, human trafficking, it exists. It doesn't go that far. I will say there were moments that they showed that were really hard to watch. And not in the way where it was like they were showing too much. They showed just enough to get you to really just despise these characters and these villains. And well, I'm gonna inevitably compare it to Sound of Freedom in a little bit, but right off the bat, I'm kind of annoyed that I don't like the film more. I was gonna give it an 8 out of 10, but given how slow the first half is and how certain things just go nowhere, I had to give it a 7. It's still decent. Again, I don't think I'd ever watch this movie again. I don't like watching these types of movies over and over again. Um, but like the thing with this is certain things just don't mesh well. I can go ahead and just talk about things that didn't work really for me. Again, Rachel Weisz, I think she's trying. I do. I'm not saying she's bad. I think she is uneven. I kind of wish this was a different actress because I've usually seen Rachel Weisz as like a kind of like love interest type, or maybe like she's usually not a leading lady. I but I can't think of in my mind who I would want as this character. Um, there's things with these side plots that I'm not big on because you're following multiple characters in this movie, and it does get to the point where it feels like we're not focusing on either of them enough. Like again, Rachel Weisz has most of the screen time, yes, but there are times where it feels like the film undercuts itself with its own narrative, and it's just like, oh, we were just getting somewhere with the Rachel Weisz storyline, so let's go to the girl that's being trafficked, and it randomly goes back to the girl, like her experience through being trafficked and being put back into this because well, she got stolen again, Uh, and there are certain characters that just drop out of the film entirely. And this is a thing that people were saying about Sound of Freedom in their reviews. They were talking about Cinema Snob was talking about how the villains just drop out of the film, and I don't agree with him on that. Most of the time, it's just that they get arrested and then you don't see them again. It's that is the end to their story for the film. Like that's kind of the whole point is that they get arrested and not like just violently beaten or something like that. And like yeah, not everything that happened in the movie was 100% true. No true story films are 100% like real life because the filmmakers, for the most part, were not there. And if something happened that makes them look bad, they're not going to show it. So you have to take the based on a true story thing with a grain of salt all the time. Like, but like the where Sound of Freedom succeeds, where this film doesn't, the way Sound of Freedom does its narrative is kind of the same, where you get Tim Ballard for most of the film, and then you have these bits going to the children, the boy and the girl in trafficking in the situation, where you actually like get to see what's going on. And with that, you actually get to know a bit more about the situation. This film tries to do that, and it does it like once or twice where it's like, okay, you can see what these girls are going through. But then it randomly, like, the villains just like disappear. They don't like, this one guy gets arrested twice and then he's just like there again. They never explain how he got back there, which I think is a pretty big fucking detail. At least in Sound of Freedom, you saw characters get arrested, and that was the explanation for why they're not in the film anymore. In this film, they just kind of disappear. Um, Another similar thing was the thing with, well, Rachel Weisz's character has a like love interest. Like the whole point is that she's gone through a divorce. She's trying to get back to America so she can um be with her daughter who is with her husband. Like the husband has full custody, but the daughter wants to talk to her anyway. And it kind of just drops out of the film. Like there's one point where a character in the UN mentions it to her. He's like, "Oh, don't you want to see your daughter?" And he's trying to like get her to like leave so that she's not investigating them anymore. It's not exactly subtle, but then after that there's like no mention of her daughter ever again, and it just feels like this film was trying to give the illusion that there were multiple things happening at once, because there are so many films like that where the main plot is the only plot in the film and they don't have any other characters going through anything else, and that's a way to make your film as short as possible or just get to your main story, which that can work. But with a film like this where they try to have multiple storylines, you have characters just disappear out of into fucking thin air. Like the character that was with the main trafficked girl of this film, the main girl that we're rooting for to like get out, her friend just like disappears. It's just like, oh, now that she's missing, she won't stand trial because she's terrified. Never another mention of her again. That type of shit doesn't happen in Sound of Freedom, and I feel like Sound of Freedom just hit me a lot harder with the imagery, it not feeling the need to show like nudity because these were actual child actors, which I'll give them a bunch of credit for that, because you know that there's filmmakers now that would try to like pull some shit. They'd have like a of age body double or some shit and be disgusting. And I'm not saying this film sexualizes the women during their like torture scenes or rape scenes or whatever. It doesn't. It shoots it very grungily, and it's very obvious that it's meant to be taken as a horrible thing happening to these young teenage girls. That's not my issue. It's just and like the again the one girl just it, she just leaves the film. The boyfriend that she has, their relationship is so undeveloped, yet we're supposed to buy them falling in love. Like literally the first scene they meet, he's like, "Oh, I want this cup, I want this table. If you take me out to dinner, you can have this table." And then later, like her hair's messed up, and it's implied that they had sex, which it's like, what? Why? And I think that this film one needed to be re-edited, two needed a better writer because a lot of the shit that happens in this movie it jumps between everything so fast and so frequently that it just there's no real cohesion for certain parts. There's not really much of an ending to Vanessa Redgrave's story. Monica Bellucci really goes nowhere as a character. Even David Strathairn is just there to be like, "Oh, I'm helping you to get these files," and I mean, other than those things, it's a decent movie, I think. And most of this stuff is set up in the first half that just doesn't get paid off. And also the mother of the girl that's been trafficked, like there's like a revelation around her family connecting to that should have been like a gut-wrenching moment, but it just doesn't hit because there's no you don't get to learn anything about that mother character. And I think this the main issue with this film that keeps me from thinking it's good and not just decent is that it tries to do too many things while not doing enough. I know that might sound weird, but that's how I feel. It tries to be like a multi-layered, like dramatic thriller based on true events, yet it also wants to be like there are times where it feels like it's trying to be an action movie, which is weird. And the poster has Rachel Weisz with a gun when she never uses a gun, doesn't hold a gun. I hate when posters do that, try to trick you into thinking it's an action movie. Like, yeah, Sound of Freedom did that a bit too, but at least what they showed in the trailer did happen in the movie. It didn't like lie like some trailers where they're like, "Oh, a bunch of explosions in the trailer," and that doesn't happen in the movie. I'm glad at least that. But yeah, like I'll never watch this film again. I think it's a time waster if you're looking for like a based on true events film about this subject. It's not easy to watch. It's not easy to digest really. But yeah. Because look at the pros and cons. Pros, David Strathairn, Vanessa Redgrave. I liked them. Um I liked seeing a bunch of familiar faces in the supporting and extra cast. There was Benedict Cumberbatch was in it for a little bit. Liam Cunningham, who was in 24 Hours to Live or 48 Hours to Live with Ethan Hawke. Luke Treadaway from uh, Attack the Block and A Street Cat Named Bob. Um, William Hope from Aliens. He was Gorman. Um, David Hewlett played Fred Murray. He was in Cube, the original Cube, and Cypher and Haunter and a bunch of movies from Vincenzo Natali. I've always liked seeing him. But yeah, I can easily say that that's like a big plus for the movie. It was nice to see a lot of actors that are recognized and liked. Um, the score from Mikhail Dana was decent. And again, cons Rachel Weisz is up and down in her performance. It's not really a pro or con, it's kind of in the middle. The film does have a very slow first half. Mm. Like things happen in the first half, but I feel adhering to the true story a bit too faithfully made it not as exciting or as thrilling of an experience as it should have been. The direction at times is a bit inconsistent. There are scenes where the camera lens is clearly out of focus, and I feel like people might probably defend it as a stylistic choice, but it just doesn't look good. Um, yeah, plot threads just go nowhere. Characters just drop off the face of the earth, like Irka. Irka's character just goes nowhere, and yeah, it's decent. It's just close to decent. It's just enough good enough that I'm like, if you were interested in this, if you're interested in the subject, I think you'll like it, but still, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that do detract from this being what I'd consider a good movie. But still, hope you like my review of The Whistleblower. If you like the video, comment down below, like, subscribe, whatever, and movie review next door. Out.